mainstream television. Ours it is.
Good day, viewers at home, and you're welcome on board Pertinent Questions, where we ask questions that are pertinent to our socio-economic and political development as a nation. Today on Pertinent Questions, I have a guest who is a politician, a medical doctor with specialty in nuclear medicine. He's a man that has been around for a very long time within the socio-political milieu of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. My guest is Dr. Miwa Oladimeji. Sir, good to see you.
Nice to see you too.
You're welcome on the program.
Thank you. Good afternoon to you too.
Sir, you have seen it all.
Well,
You've been in politics for a long time.
yes.
You succeeded in the field of medicine. I want us to take a look at the new government and policies that we've been seeing him rolling out since he became president. Subsidy has been removed. He said that was the big elephant in the room and it must go. What's your immediate reaction to that?
Well, my immediate reaction to that is that there's a reflection of some level of hypocritism. Because I remember when Goodluck was president, he tried to remove subsidy. Unfortunately, the current president and his own troops and friends were the ones who ensured that Lagos was stopped, Lagos go slow, and there was an attempt to make sure that the same thing happened in Abuja and in Kano. That Goodluck had no alternative, especially at an embryo stage of his government, that he had to cancel the issue of subsidy. I'd like to say, perhaps if we had removed subsidy at that time, with the current period, things we would have gotten used to this, and the economy would have been better for it. Now he has done it.
Some people say it's better late than never.
Yeah.
Because a nation that is about 81 trillion naira down in debt, can we afford to be subsidizing fuel with about 8 trillion per annum when there are other critical infrastructure begging for attention?
Objectively, you've said it. It's better late than never. But they must still take blame, accept responsibility for the delay, and therefore accept responsibility for letting our debt gallop to this level.
Okay. Now, he has done something else. Hitherto, we had double exchange rate policy.
Yeah.
That some people will get dollars for 420, others will get for 750.
Yeah.
Now it's been unified, and naira is now floating. Do you support the flotation of the naira against the dollar? Well,
I mean, I'm not an economist, but as an ordinary human being in Nigeria, a decent Nigerian, I think it's better to scrap the double exchange rate. Let all of us feel it where it pains, both government, both different organizations. I think it's good to have a universally equal exchange rate. I agree with that. That, to me, is a step in a good direction, a positive direction.
In the last 4 weeks,
okay,
that the president has been in the saddle, people have said some complimentary things, that he started on a very swift note, that he has seized the bull by the horn, and he has shown dynamic and purposeful leadership. You are not of the same political extraction with him.
Yes.
Do you subscribe to that President Tinubu has started on a very promising note?
All I would say is that he hasn't started on a bad note. That's what I would say. Because the taste of the pudding is in the eating.
That's right.
And at this embryo stage, I don't want to commit myself to saying too much. But in being objective, he hasn't started on a bad note so far.
So you don't want to endorse him or endorse his presidency for now?
No, his presidency has been endorsed by Nigerians. Let's not deceive ourselves either. It doesn't depend on me or you. There has been an election and he has won the election. Except any other thing happens, he remains our president. And as a loyal Nigerian citizen, yes, I will remain loyal to the government of Nigeria.
There are consequences for actions he has taken so far. Flotation of naira has really increased inflation. The fact that subsidy has been removed, people now have to pay high prices for goods. Yes. Transportation has gone high, and some other things like that. Do you think he should take decisive steps and action to cushion the effect of these actions that he is taking?
I think he should, because you see, even salaries, the salaries remain the same, and there's no way that any government or any corporation can increase salary in the percentage at which fuel increase was. I mean, you're talking about almost 300% increase. So there has to be efforts to cushion. And I know in addition to that, the unions are already talking that they need more money. So whether we like it or not, unfortunately, states that are not extremely well endowed, will also have to bear the burden. And that means that's a lot of challenge. It means the leadership of those states will have to sit down, think outside the box to see how they're going to cope. Because no worker is going to say, oh, they pay this and so, but we are poor, they don't pay it. No, they to go up, whether we like it or not.
You have the PDP's political family.
Yes, I am a PDP.
Nigerians have accused your party of laying the foundation for the woes that we witnessed today, that you should have removed subsidy during the Obasanjo, during the Jonathan, during the Yaradua era, but you left it to linger for too long.
No, I thought I already mentioned that at the start of this discussion. Yes, during Obasanjo time, we didn't remove subsidy. But when Jonathan came, he actually removed subsidy. And you may remember, Lagos got to a standstill because the present president and his team and his friends and his political associates organized sit down in Lagos that it was even impossible. They were giving them food. There were also good musicians who were playing, and it kept everybody, but nothing was happening. And they were trying to do the same thing in Kano and Abuja. That is why Nigeria should be on a halt. That, of course, Goodluck couldn't cope with it psychologically, and it made a U-turn.
But that speaks to the fact that he was not man enough. They said leadership is about sticking to policies that are good, that regardless of distractions, protects. Like he said, Brother Tinubu said that regardless of how long you protest, I will remove subsidy. And has made good his promise.
Yes.
Was Jonathan fickle-minded and lily-livered?
No, Tinubu didn't say that before the election.
He said it before election. He said, no matter how long you protest, I will remove subsidy.
Did he say that before the election?
He said, yeah, before the election.
Yeah, no, look, one thing that...
Was that due to Jonathan not being manly enough, or he was a bit coward?
Well, I'm not going to use the word coward. I just know that Jonathan did not have sufficient preparation for the presidency as Tinubu had. Tinubu had been wanting to be president for more than, for quite a while. Jonathan was lucky to be a vice deputy governor and became a governor, and he was vice president and had the presidency trust on him. Some are born great, some achieve greatness, some have greatness trust upon them.
That's right.
Yeah, so I think there is definitely that difference between the Goodlucks of this world and the Tinubus of this world. Yeah.
Sir, your party,
yes,
is in the opposition.
We are in the
You've been for some time now.
Yes.
There was a bold attempt about 2 weeks ago to bring everybody under one umbrella and to repair the umbrella and make sure it is strong enough. How far has your party gone with that, bringing shades of opinion and people with divergent perception to the way that your party is being run under one umbrella?
Well, it's not going to be a dramatic operation. It's a gradual process. And that process is continued, the process of reconciliation and getting everybody to appreciate things. The party itself made mistakes, but this is not the forum to discuss it. Made mistakes, otherwise we should have done better at the presidential election. When it gets to a level that some very senior, in quotes, members of the party, governors, etc., campaign against the party and the presidential candidate, that's a very serious matter. And it seems, you see, that's something that PDP has to handle well. We did it before when the Bukola Saraki, Olagose Oyinlola, and those are 6 governors left the party. I just like it doesn't matter, and we lost the election.
That's right.
We will have done better if we did that. This time again, when Nelson, Wike started his own rambling that somebody should resign as chairman of the party, and all threats, it was obvious that it was going to be a stumbling block. We didn't seem to take him serious, and I think that's the minus for the party. In future, I hope we learn from our mistakes. But back to what you had said earlier, yes, attempts have been made at reconciliation, and it was a gradual process. It's not going to be a dramatic 100 meters dash.
Come back.
Yeah.
That's why it's a marathon.
It's a marathon.
As it were.
Yes.
Does that speak to the fact that some people's believe that there's no father figure in the party anymore. There's no rallying point. There's no strong character like Obasanjo that can call people or bully people to shape and stuff like that. There's no institutional personality that you subscribe to. Do you agree with that?
No, I think it's not just one factor. It's multidimensional. First of all, you have to appreciate that Nigerian politicians mostly behave like footballers. They're in Arsenal today, and they are ready to be in Chelsea tomorrow. And they can be in Man City or Manchester United.
Wow.
Which is unfortunate, because politicians, people must go into politics with a set of beliefs and ideas and wanting to do things. But what we've seen, we've seen strong members of PDP become Senate president or become chairman or secretary of the party, and vice versa. APC people coming, which shows that I wish it was possible to be able to set some parameter that, look, you're going to be in politics, yes, if you're in party A and you're going to party B, you must at least before you're in any position in party B, you must be there for at least 2 years. Then people think more, what is this? So that is one problem. Look, Oshomole at one time said, come to APC and your sins are forgiven. The same Oshomole who was campaigning for Obaseki as APC, as ACN governor, was the one who was now saying no when the guy wanted to go for second because they had personal tussle. And Obaseki had to start playing on the screen.
And he jumped the boat too.
He jumped the boat. And he jumped
to
the
PDP.
boat. And PDP made him
governor. That's right.
So these are some of the unseriousness that I find in our polity. It's not the big man bullying alone. It was convenient for Obasanjo. It was easy for Obasanjo to believe as a president. But when he was
ex-president,
he
slipped off his hand.
Of course. Of course.
Do you subscribe to this belief that the political parties are like two sides of the same coin? That they were never funded on ideological basis? That people have said that late Chibola Ige wrote the constitution for the PDP, wrote that for the AC, for the AD then.
Just now
so that's right. So that's why it's easy for people to crisscross, to leave party A in the morning and eat in party B in the afternoon and go to party C in the evening.
Well, I wish you did.
Do we need to go back to the basics and reorientate our party and restructure?
I wish you didn't ask me that question, because it's unfortunately correct. There are two sides of the same coin. Whether it's a bad coin or a good coin, I'm not going to talk. But there are two sides of the same coin. You're right. Non-ideological. It's just, look at that constitution. This one will write will, that one will say shall. There's not much difference. And in terms of governance, in terms of focus of attention, there hasn't been much difference. I'm sorry, but we have to admit it. Because if we don't admit the flaws, we'll not be able to make progress. That's been the situation in the parties, in the two parties for the last many years, which is unfortunate.
You were involved with the SDP.
Yes.
And
SDP and NRC. A little bit to the left.
Right, a little to the left.
Yes.
Do you see we'd have to refer back to that? We have to return to that. That we had clear ideological positions.
That would be nice, but it's more difficult to do that under a civilian authority. Don't forget that it was Babangida who coerced us,
who decreed it into existence.
Exactly. And decreed it into existence. And then you had to think, well, am I rightist or am I leftist? And you went a little bit to the right or you went a little bit to the left. But under a civilian regimes, I think it's going to be a hard task.
Okay.
To crack.
Now, people have seen the emergence of Peter Obi as a breath of fresh air. And that was why he was able to make significant difference on the political landscape of Nigeria. That he came with a brand of politics that was different from what Nigerians were used to. So the boys, the girls, the young ones, the youth, they bought into his ideology, into his person. And do you see, what does that tell you? Does it tell you that the death of this old style of politics is imminent?
It tells me several things. One of the most important things it tells me that it signifies is that Doyo Kukwa is a good friend of mine. I knew him since he was in the university. and I was a young doctor in usage. And since then, we've kept being in touch. And I had hoped that Peter Obi will remain in PDP and be the VP candidate for Atiku. Now, he has come with, I don't think the messages were too different, but the way the messages were packed were, refreshing, and a lot of youth. And then besides, the youth already, a lot of young people were already tired of the old faces, PDP and APC. Let's try this one. All these guys have told us so many things before, I will lose the same friend. So that was the escape valve, that they were tired of us. Not that his messages were significantly different, but the PDP and APC have been seen and said, look, let's give this guy a chance. And that's a good job. But see, I hope if the Labour Party wants to, that's his party, isn't it?
That's right.
If they have to have a chance, then they must go back to the drawing board and do a lot of sitting down, arrangement, strategic and co. You cannot win an election in a country like this if you don't have parties in every state, if you don't have people to defend your votes at the polling center.
And presence in all the states.
Yes. So you drive down, if you're driving from here now to Sokoto or anywhere, in many of the villages and towns you pass, you see both the PDP flag in front of one building
or the APC.
So there are many who want to see that, which means on election day, there will be one or two people who will stand by and say, I'm the agent of PDP, I'm the agent of PDP. If there's nobody who's there to protect your interests, you're gonna. And that's part of the problem Labour Party had. And then again, yes, in the urban centers,
Yes, right.
Labour Party will do very well.
Very well.
I'm not sure that will be the case in the very rural areas. And whether we like it or not, more of the votes will come from the rural area.
It's obvious that the youth are craving for involvement.
The enlightened
For
youth.
the enlightened youth. They are craving for involvement in governance, in politics. How do you think we can incorporate them? We can run an inclusive government so that Yorubas will say, that it takes a contemporary dog to chase a contemporary rabbit.
Yes.
Because the dynamics of running has changed. Do you think it's important if you want to move forward as a nation, as a people, to incorporate these young guys with bright, brilliant, and contemporary ideas and concepts into government and governance?
I'm equally excited. I'm happy the way you put it towards the end. Bright, brilliant ideas. That is not easy, because sometimes when you go politicking, you say, we are the youths. And these are youths who have not even bothered to spend 1 or 2 hours reading what's happened that day or know what's happened the next day, because some of them are not well schooled. And I make bold to say that if you're not well schooled in these days, you should not expect to be in a position of authority politically. The dynamics are so complex. You have to be able to. You cannot read a memo that is 6 pages. How do you expect to be in governance? But for those that you have said, bright ideas, well schooled, well mannered, there must be.
Okay.
And the truth is, if we don't give them a chance, we'll be pushed out by them. And then natural selection will also take place.
So you believe that we can only incorporate good, upright, young lads with ideas to make change in the politics.
Yes, and you can only have that if you've been well schooled.
Yeah.
You cannot have it because you've been taking alcohol or running around and saying you are youths. Ditto for women. Some people feel that once, I'm sorry, I don't want to be, that once you are not a man, then you should be getting accolades and you should be given. No, it is the one who have ideas, and there are many of them.
So power is never served a la carte.
No, it's not. Exactly.
That's right. You got to struggle for it.
Struggle for it.
I know.
Yes.
I know. Now, looking at the politics, some have said that if you want to play the kind of politics where our fault lines will not come to the fore, politics of division that will bring to the fore our multi-ethnic nature as a people, that we should come back to two-party system. But anytime we go into a general election with a multi-party system, it will bring to the fore our fault lines, our ethnic diversity. Do you subscribe to that we should make recourse to two-party system?
Well, it's easy to say one subscribes to it. I wish it was so, because in many of the developed democracies of today, take Britain, Labour and Conservative Party, Republican and Democratic Party, even in Germany, and on like that. You know, I think it would have been better. But the dilemma is that how do we go about it? You know, the Constitution allows free association, free grouping. So if you and I decide I want to form a party, and somebody says no, we go to court, and the court will say we have a right to form the party. So those are the charges. I believe, or I hope rather, that over time, that will happen when people realize that the minority parties are not going to have a chance. Greece has the minority parties coming this time, but you know, that's taking many years, many years. Where when people agree that the two older parties are useless, just the sort of phenomena that we almost saw with Obi.
Okay. Can't we have an homegrown democracy that suit our peculiarity as a people? Because somebody asked me a long time ago, sir, that is democracy and good governance mutually exclusive or mutually inclusive? That what matters to a man in Okefia is good governance. He does not even care about the mode of government. As long as there's bread on his table, there's food on his table, his children can go to school, he can access good Medicare. Doesn't really care. That reminds me, a friend of mine who comes from a country called Bhutan. Is it Bhutan now? Yeah. It's a country sandwich between Bhutan. Sandwich between China and India. They run a monarchical rule. That's what they have there. And they are happy. Why the king is pushing for democracy, the people are saying, no, we are happy with what we have. Do you think that Nigeria can come up with a system that suits our purpose?
It's easier said than done. For us to say that I think that good governance is essential. But I also believe in our own circumstances that good governance has to be inclusive with democracy. You can, in Nigeria, you see, the earlier question of our fault lines will remain for quite a while. One of the things that will be eroding it is education. You and I, for example, we've related to people across the lines. And many times, it doesn't even matter. You have friends who are from the east, who are from the north, who are from wherever. And you get to know later, I didn't know that Rotimi Amechi was from the River State. When I had his name Rotimi, I think that such as Tudo Ogbeha, I didn't know that.
Was Benedo?
Yes. So these are things that, no, he's from Kogi.
Kogi, that's right.
Yes. So these are things that.
Another Tunde came from.
These are things that will come with education. That's why right now, our focus, our emphasis, and our struggle in Nigeria is education for all. Because the more educated you are, then it is unlikely that it will be easily swayed by either one pastor or one imam. You know, when you're educated, you have to look at, just like because of education, the churches in Nigeria, I would say, look, homosexuality is not in the Bible. If it was in those days, whatever the Igbo said, we took it.
That's right.
So education will do that internally for us.
It enlightens the mind.
It enlightens
and gives you a voice.
And gives you a voice.
That's right.
So that is the most important thing now, the challenge for our generation. If we can do that for the upcoming one, it will help to reduce some of the fault lines. But I don't see how we can have good governance in Nigeria without democracy.
So you don't believe we can go through the Singaporean experience of Lincoln Jew, of a benevolent dictator that will beat us to shame for a while before we embrace full-blown democracy?
Well, I think you probably may appreciate that our ex-president Obasanjo was a fan of Lincoln Jew.
I know.
So
people say that was why he was trying to explore the possibility of a third term,
you know,
and tinker with the constitution, but I was frustrated.
Frustrated. So the process of having the military, if we had been lucky to have a military head of state like Jerry Rawlings, our situation would have been better. But what our military turned to was different from Jerry Rawlings' approach. I mean, by the time Jerry Rawlings died, he had only one house.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
I don't think there's any Nigerian head military leader and his friends now.
Sir, people have said that we need to interrogate, what you said now brought it to my mind, that we need to interrogate our leadership recruitment process. That most often than not, the worst of us are our leaders. And the best of us are taking the back stage. How do you think we can reorganize things? So our best 11, we're going to be putting our best foot forward instead of our worst foot forward so that we can move forward as a people and as a nation.
You see, right now, it was the president of South Africa, the name,
Which one?
the black president, the first.
Nelson Mandela?
Yes, I'm sorry. Nelson Mandela said there are factors against democracy. One of such is illiteracy, because people cannot understand. And I now put it to say that the problem we have, ignorance, illiteracy must be in different dimensions. One, ignorance, of what is happening around and what could happen. The poverty, and that's another element, aspect that Nelson Mandela mentioned. Poverty also militates because it is the very poor man that will accept a loaf of bread of 1,000 and do whatever you want him to do. If anybody suggests that to my children or grandchildren or yours, he will feel insulted that you want to give me 1,000, I can vote for you. And that may even make the guy say, this is a corrupt man. I'm not going to vote yes. But poverty, a very poor person will say thank you and say that's a kind man. So until those are the factors that are militating against genuine democracy in Nigeria and a lot of Africa. So we have to work against that through education. And once we do that, then you're right, the recruitment. But I believe again that the more enlightened we are, and when people are able to have sufficient food to meet their needs, or sufficient to meet their needs, not their greed, such people will be easier able to decide that this is where they are, and hopefully at that stage, first level. And people still like who are the first level, but this, you are right, the first 11 are never really getting into power. And we end up as it were recruiting sometimes the third 11, and sometimes those who will not even have entered the league. I mean, you have the Premiership, the second league.
Yeah, that's right.
Those clubs that have not will not have entered the league. Those players that will not have been in the league. That is what's happening now.
Before we go on break, recently, Nigerians were shocked, and in fact, it was provocative for the federal government to have contemplated increasing salaries, emoluments of public officers by 114%. Nigerians felt bad and terrible about it. You played the league before. You are a legislator at the national level. Yes. Do you think that step was justified? That
step was rubbish. It was not justified. It wasn't. Well, let me just say this. When we were in the legislature, the salary was 4,000. Wow. I was earning less than I was earning as a senior lecturer at IFE than somebody in private practice. And by the time we were booted out by Abacha, the National Assembly owed us money.
Wow. Yeah. That never paid?
Not till today. They haven't paid it till today. So that's part. But for 100, you see, and you probably also remember something. Not long ago, the National Assembly, House of Reps, to be specific, was discussing that to discourage the people emigrating, that for doctors, they should not give them their certificate till about 6 years after graduation. When you hear people that, you start wondering what are they? And the same people want their own salaries increased. They are not even thinking of the fact that, look, to discourage immigration, let's increase the size of some of these professionals. If we do, perhaps and then talk more to them. They're saying they want their own salaries increased. It shows the caliber of human beings that we have put in those places, which is extremely unfortunate. I'm not saying all of them, but the majority, because that's where that kind of thing came out. Although finally, I think because they know the mood of Nigerians, they had to deny it. There was no such idea. Sorry for 114%.
So you will say President Bola Ahmed Tinubu should not assent to that law when it comes?
I don't think he will assent to it. He will not. I mean, without being an APC member, and because Bola Tinubu, whether you like it or not, is a smart person, he will not assent to it. I don't even think they will take it to him.
If you are locked in a room with Bola Tinubu today, and he asks you how much should we pay workers, Nigerian workers, in view of the inflation that we see and the fact that fuel subsidy has been removed, Nigerians are groaning under the yoke of hyperinflation, things are not working for people. Do you think we should increase salaries of workers? And what benchmark will you suggest to government if you have that privilege? If I have that privilege, I will ask him to let me call some economists. But I will tell you that I agree that the salaries should be increased. But benchmark, I'm not qualified enough to suggest. Because in suggesting benchmark, you have to be able to appreciate the level of inflation, the salary. I'm not, that's not my field. But I would definitely tell him that, look, these guys need more money in their pockets at the end of the month to pay their rent, to pay their electricity bill, and to buy fuel into their motorcycles. They definitely need more money. Have you had the argument advanced by some people that actually Nigeria will talk more about more salary, more money, and we don't discuss how do we strengthen the purchasing power of the money in our pocket? That it is not the volume of the money that you have in your bank account that determine the quality life you are able to live, but the strength of the money that you have. For instance, if you are paid $4,000 in America, you're going to live good and live well. Yes. Good mortgage system, ride a good car, access to grocery, Medicare, and everything like that. In Nigeria, 500,000 rand may not even be able to earn you or to give you that kind of comfort. Yes. Do you think we should start to center our conversation and engagement around how to strengthen the purchasing power of our currency? It's the purchasing power of our currency is also determined by what we can export and what we can import. That's right. If the moment we keep importing a lot more than we can export, then our currency will not go. So that's why we should also pay attention on agriculture. And of course, we should limit the things that, the disposable things that we import should be reduced. If we can do that, and gradually agriculture and some other areas of our economy should be strengthened. When you go to UK, I see a banana from Ivory Coast. I feel sad because I don't see from Nigeria. I see now that Ivory Coast is now the first in Africa in cocoa exportation. Wow. We used to be. Ghana used to be. But now, Ivory Coast is ahead of us. Ghana is ahead of us. So these are areas that we have to look into. And particularly also even states like ours should look into such things. If we can increase our exportation through the things that we have, then probably our economy will improve. And that goes for many things, rubber, tin, all of this. And then we should monitor the mineral aspects, the mineral resources that God has endowed this country with to ensure that they will. When we return from this break, I'm going to take you into nuclear medicine and some medical-related matters. Thank you. Viewers, the program has been Pertinent Questions, and my guest is Dr. Muyiwa Oladimeji, a politician, once a legislator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and a medical doctor with specialty in nuclear medicine. When we return, conversation will be centered around nuclear medicine. Don't go anywhere. See you soon. Thank you.
Jeremiah Oyeni Obafemi on March 6, 1905. Obafemi Awolowo was a prime architect of Nigeria's independence and most consummate advocate of free education and social welfare in Africa's most populous nation. Erudite politician, thinker and philosopher, Awo was fondly addressed by associates and political colleagues, brought his unique attributes to bear on governance in the defunct Western region. He administered as leader of government business and the premier between 1955 and 1958. Obafemi Awolowo's premiership witnessed pioneering in multi-sectoral policy initiatives and execution. The Western region under his administration paraded several enviable records. first television station in Africa, first real estate in Nigeria, first high-rise building in Nigeria, first modern sports stadium in Nigeria, first agricultural settlement in Nigeria, first modern civil service secretariat in Nigeria, and first industrial estate in Nigeria. His face is on 100 naira denomination as a mark of honor for his distinguished services to his country. Western Spring Television identifies Obafemi Awolowo as a major character in history. Badamasi Adegoke Adelabu was a prominent figure in Ibadan politics and Western region before Nigeria's independence. He was a key founder of the National Council of Nigeria and the Cameroons, a political party that held aloftly the torch of liberty for the two West African countries. He carved a niche for himself as a wordsmith and a creative speaker. The nickname Kwenkelemens was a natively corrupted version of peculiar mess, his bombastic English language style often used to score proceedings at the parliament. The author of Africa in Ebullition, a handbook of freedom for Nigerian nationalists, was Nigeria's Federal Minister of Natural Resources and Social Services between 1955 and 1956. He died in an auto crash on the 25th March 1958 at the age of 42. Western Spring Television identifies Adegoke Adelabu as a watershed character in history.
Welcome back to Pertinent Question. My guest remains Dr. Miwa Oladimeji, a medical doctor with specialty in nuclear medicine. So tell me about nuclear medicine. What is nuclear medicine?
Okay. Nuclear medicine, it's the use of radioisotope and radioactive elements to diagnose and in some cases to treat organic and systemic and non-systemic diseases.
Wow.
Let me break it down again.
Please do.
There are some sets of radioisotopes that if, like a technician, if we put it into the individual, just a little bit of it, we can then use what you can call an X-ray, but it's not, please, to monitor how it goes through the system. And we know that this guy's heart is working the way it should work. If there's any blockage, you see it directly there. Same ditto for the brain, ditto for the liver, HIDA scan, BIDA scan, ditto for the kidney. So these are the things that nuclear medicine does, and it makes it easier and faster for the other specialists to say, okay, this is where your problem is, and you go ahead and treat it. I must also say that the development in nuclear medicine and technology have also aided the advancement in other radiological techniques, which are now also popular, like the MRI, the CT scan. This nuclear medicine came shortly before them, but they're all complementary to what's saying. Then there are some situations where you use the radioisotope to you shoot it into a particular place where you find there is disease and you want it to smash.
Wow.
Yes.
How well grounded is nuclear medicine in Nigeria? Do we practice it? How many of you are actually in Nigeria?
Well, let me just answer the first part of the question. I went into nuclear medicine when the military president Obasanjo, was saying that if South Africa is allowed to go nuclear, Nigeria too must go nuclear. And at that time, OAU, which was University of Ife, University of Nigeria, and ABU, had the different arms of what I would call radiation and nuclear facilities developed in their different institutes and departments of nuclear physics, nuclear this. So I felt like if we were doing this, then there's need. And Professor Wole, who was in Ife, we chatted, is back to the US. That yes, there was a need for us to have people in medicine, because no matter how you do it, you could have accidents. And if you have, I said, the first set of doctors that will be courageous enough to go will be those who are specialists in nuclear medicine, because they can protect themselves relatively, and then they are trained to be able to handle these things better. So that's why. And by the time I came back, Osman Sojo was no longer president.
Wow.
There was no, the departments in those universities.
You studied in Russia, Soviet Union, right?
I did my first degree in Soviet Union.
Okay.
Yes, but I did my specialist training in UK.
In UK.
Yes, I went. I did nuclear. I did immunology in Cardiff, in Wales.
Okay.
Yes, and that's tumor biology, to be specific. And then I did nuclear medicine at King's College Hospital Medical School, Denmark, London.
So because Nigeria didn't pursue nuclear technology,
yes,
nuclear medicine, it's not particularly useful in Nigeria.
No, it is useful.
Okay.
It is useful. But
we don't have many practitioners.
No, we don't. I said, even at that time, there was nowhere
to practice it. Wow.
I was ready to, if it was ABU or AUI.
So when you returned, there was nowhere.
Yes. So all I could reduce myself is to continue tumor biology, which is in oncology. Okay. And of course, that was frustrating. Eventually, I found myself. I went abroad. Don't
you think Nigeria has wasted our years?
But now there are young people who have studied nuclear medicine. At least I know a bunch of about 3 of them.
In Nigeria?
No.
Abroad?
Abroad.
Okay.
Abroad.
Because there's nowhere to practice it in Nigeria.
There's nowhere to practice here. Wow. Well, that's not very correct. UCH, Chief Afebala donated a building to UCH for nuclear medicine. Okay. And to the truth of the matter is that UCH has been practicing.
Can you practice nuclear medicine without nuclear technology? It's
more difficult, but you send for your generators. Take for example some of the things, the radio cobalt, the radio, you import them, and they have a lifespan.
Wow.
This one will last for 6 months. So when it's
very cumbersome.
It is very cumbersome.
So the fact that we don't have nuclear technology frustrated nuclear medicine practice.
It's also frustrated nuclear medical practice.
Let me ask you this question. You made reference to it.
Real organization, we could get all these radios from South Africa or from England.
From South Africa?
Yes, from South Africa or from UK.
They have nuclear capacity in South Africa to some extent.
Yes.
Okay. Now, so you said something earlier on, which some people believe is not bad, but doctors have kicked against it. That if you are a Nigerian trained medical doctor, you went through the system, heavily subsidized, that you should serve Nigeria for some years before you are allowed to japa and jump the boat. Do you think that is right or is wrong? Why are doctors vehemently opposed to that?
They will be opposed to it because they need to eat. They need to put food on their table. And people saying that are being hypocritical. There are people who use extremely affluent life. They were all in universities together. They don't have 2 heads or 4 feet. It's not that they are superhuman.
But why assessing free medical studies in Nigeria and jump the boat immediately after?
No, he's
one of the cheapest in the world.
These guys who are saying that they should not be allowed to go are hypocritical because there is no reason for them. You see, the position of doctors is this. It's not all the doctors that want to be millionaires or multimillionaires. No. But every human being, after a certain stage, you want to be able to feed your
But doctors are...
No, you have not let me finish.
They are the highest paid practitioners in the country.
No. The doctors are extremely overworked, underpaid, and they have become frustrated because even the facilities to work
are not available.
So who's fooling who? When it's not there, who's fooling who? So they want to go to where they can practice their trade and improve on themselves. And of course, that will be able to take care of their responsibility.
So you feel the law should die?
The law will die. It is not practicable. Look, like they tried one. They didn't allow Nigeria to have a center to take the exams. The boys went to
Ghana.
They went to Ghana. They stopped one plane that had too many doctors in it. So the next day, they went in different flights, and went down by road. It will die. So yes, it's a dilemma.
I know it's an emotional topic for you because you are talking of your profession and everything like that. But looking at the national interest, that if you spend hard-earned money to train Nigerian professionals, they should not all hemorrhage abroad to the detriment of the nation.
I submit that we spend hard-earned money to train journalists. And
we are not jumping the ship. We are here practicing regardless of how tough it is.
I'm here in Nigeria, no matter how tough. You are here in Nigeria, but my dear brother, There are many journalists and people who
are looking for opportunities to fly out.
Who are even out.
I agree with you, sir. I want to thank you very much for coming on Pertinent Questions. It's always a pleasure to have you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, the program has been Pertinent Questions, where we ask questions that are pertinent to our socio-political and economic development as a nation. I want to thank you so very much for being part of this program. My name is FEMI ADEFILA. Till next week, when we bring you another quality guest like Dr. Muiwa Oladimeji on this program. Bye for now.
Thank you very much.